What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Tears Take. I'm Tierney, and I upload weekly reality recaps. So if you love the Real Housewives and all of their antics, this channel is for you. If you enjoy my content, please go ahead and like it, subscribe. I want to be friends. I'm really cool, so you should just do it, right? Anyways, today I'm going to recap the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills season 14 reunion part 1. I usually love a reunion, right? I just love them. Some people don't prefer them. I am a reunion girl. But this one I did not love for several reasons. So we'll get into them. I'm not going to hold you too long. Let's go ahead and just dive in, and I'll walk you through scene by scene, some of the things that stuck out, my takes, and, what we think about moving forward. So the episode opens. We see the cast arriving, getting glam, getting ready to sit down and talk to Andy. So as Kyle's arriving, she's up here talking about snakes in the grass. I'm like, girl, do you have a mirror? Are we talking about yourself? I don't know. Bo said she has a lot of ish to say. Dorit's anxious. Sutton brings Garcelle a vibrator. That was a little weird. And then Andy asks Kyle, what does she have to say to the audience who feels like it's a double standard when she's kind of hiding things but expects others to be open and honest? And she completely deflects the question. She doesn't answer it. She just says, well, what has Garcelle and Sutton shown? And I'm like, more than you in recent years. So the ladies come out. I think Garcelle looks the best head to toe. I liked Erica's dress. I did not like her hair and makeup. Bo's was okay. I don't know. I think Garcelle looked the best. So as Kyle is coming out, Garcelle compliments her twice. I think she might have greeted her and then complimented her. She said two things to her, and each time Kyle just snubbed her, just ignored her. Like, she came out and she's like, oh, Kyle, you look great. And then Kyle's just like, oh, everyone looks beautiful. And she's like, oh, I really like your hair. And she's like, yeah, everyone looks so nice. I was like, and you know what? From there, I would have paid her dust, because in the first couple of segments, we'll see Kyle addressing Garcelle. And I would have been like, no, you couldn't address me 2 minutes ago. I'm not answering you now. Bye. So yeah, I just wouldn't have talked to her. I wouldn't have paid her the time of day, reunion or not. You're not going to sit up here and ignore me. And then when the cameras get rolling, you want to, try to address me and try to ask me questions and try to put me in a corner. Absolutely not. So no. So Andy sits down. He does his usual kind of greetings and just kind of giving some light updates on some of the people who have some things going on. He asks if anyone has an intention, and Kyle says that she just wants to leave better than when she left. And then Garcelle cuts her off, and she was saying, yeah, I just want to talk things through, and I really want to cast photo. And I was like, oh, the foreshadowing, because Erica already told us on Watch What Happens Live that Garcelle did not take the cast photo. So this is apparently like the second or third year in a row that they didn't do it. So something needs to happen. This cast is just innately toxic, and they need to shake this cast up. If they can't even take a picture with each other, they can't even finish a reunion. That's what I appreciated about old school New York, because they would go at each other. They will call each other cokeheads. They will air each other's dirty laundry out about their men. They will read each other up and down, and then they'll go out to dinner together as a cast. Whereas Beverly Hills has been so divided in the past number of years, so divided, so cliquey, just toxic all around. And it's just not fun to watch. So anyway, so that was an interesting remark. Just something also interesting from this section was when Andy congratulated Dorit on her British Vogue cover. I couldn't help but think it might have been like season 8, when they all went to New York and Dorit had the Bella magazine party, and Kyle was upset. Kyle's always in a tizzy. Kyle yelled at everybody, walked out, and Dorit confronted her at the reunion saying, that was a big night for me. I didn't like that you walked out of on my magazine party. And then Andy was like, well, I mean, it wasn't Vogue. So here we are full circle. Dorit is at least on British Vogue, which is amazing. So, hey, being on any magazine is amazing. So congratulations, Doritos. So then we start off with Dorit's package. They talk about, they always start off late. So they talk about the smoking meme. Dorit pretty much says that she stress smokes. That might be helping her, not helping her, but that might be causing her to look so thin. She's obviously always been a thin girl, but as she walked out on the reunion stage, I was like, oh my God. So they're talking about the smoking meme, and Andy asked Kyle if PK has sent her any memes about it. I was like, Andy, already starting to be messy, and I love it. A viewer wrote in saying that this season it feels like it's an attempt to keep Dorit's job. So she was pretty much doing the most to keep her diamond. I agree. I feel like we've seen the past few years, every time that word is that she's on the chopping block, all of a sudden she had a break-in right before filming. All of a sudden she's getting a separation right before filming. It's all of these things that just so happen to coincide with filming that, yeah, it does start to look really shady. So Kyle agrees that it did feel like Dorit was doing the absolute most, probably to keep her job in the beginning of the season. And Dorit says to Kyle, she was like, well, we know that you have relationships with Bravo executives. So I don't understand how you came to that conclusion when you already knew I was asked back. And Kyle kind of stood her ground. Like, Kyle was kind of like, yeah, girl, I have relationships with executives, which is why I knew you were on the chopping block. Like, it could have gone both ways. I didn't think that Dorit airing that out, like, made Kyle look bad in the argument. But it does confirm what we've all thought and have kind of heard thrown around, that Kyle is, really in with the network. Like, I just thought she was one of Andy's favorites, but she has relationships, Dorit said, with executives. So she has multiple relationships with people that are running the network. And now we see why she is able to just skate through every season. Listen, you don't have to be like having crazy storylines, and you don't have to do acrobatics all season long for 10 years in a row. No one expects that. No one is asking for that. But we are just asking everyone to be held at the same standard. We're asking that, like, if you don't give much at the reunion, it's okay to sit in the second or third seat. You should not, just because you're an OG, you should not just have first chair doing absolutely nothing in the season. So it's just little stuff like that like turns off the viewers, and there's a power imbalance there when one person is close to production and the executives, and then maybe there's a newbie who doesn't have those relationships yet. And of course there's going to be a power dynamic. It's not going to be a genuine relationship, because either someone's going to be walking on eggshells and trying to just like kiss someone, kiss up to the person with those relationships, or they might come in resentful, or it's a problem. It's a problem. One could say it's a reflection of the real world, because, hey, in the real world, we deal with that kind of stuff all the time. But I don't know. It's just not enjoyable. I would prefer, like, Kyle, if you want to be an executive so bad, go apply for a job at Bravo. Go apply to be on the production staff. So in that way, you won't be forced to show your life. But I don't know. If you want to be on this show, then hold yourself to the same standard that you hold everyone else to. It's very much like Mariah on Married to Medicine. It's very much like having a producer as part of the cast. Mariah, Married to Medicine, Shawnee from Basketball Wives. It automatically shifts the dynamic, and it doesn't allow people space to treat that person as an equal. They're automatically in a subservient ranking, and it's a mess, and it's not enjoyable. And here we are with a terrible season and a terrible reunion. Okay, terrible is a little too strong, but it's not one of my favorites at all. So Dorit doesn't, I'm going to fly through some of these other things. So Dorit doesn't regret shielding her kids from the separation and the divorce. She said she won't get back together with PK the way things are now, but she is still in love with him. PK declined to attend, but he sent in a statement. He basically said, Dorit made a lot of mischaracterizations about me, and she really changed, and I hope that Dorit I knew comes back. And, you know, when I first heard it, I was kind of like, ooh, like, this is a nice, nasty read. Like, he was kind of reading her down low key. And then I was kind of like, he seems really manipulative. I don't know. I think even though Dorit is not always believable, I tend to believe women in these situations. And I believe that he's like, we've already seen that he's MIA half the time with his kids. We've heard that he sent her this crazy email. He didn't deny that. You know, of all the things he wrote like a 10-line paragraph. He didn't say, oh, by the way, I never sent this threatening email. So, you know, I'm siding with Dorit when it comes to PK. And I think the way he wrote that letter or whatever, his statement, it did seem really manipulative. And you know, but problematic. I can see that he probably has underlying problematic personality traits that caused, you know, or accelerated this separation. So Dorit acknowledges that she did change. She said most people do change over a period of time, so she didn't really feel a ways about it. She was pressed about whether or not PK was insecure with her fame. I said, what fame? What fame? Dorit's not. No, Dorit. Anyway, she didn't throw him under the bus or anything. She was just kind of like, maybe, you know, maybe not. Who knows? Kyle said that Dorit seemed more aggressive this season and overall was different. I'm like, girl, hush. And still on Dorit, there is a viewer comment or question basically talking about Kyle undermining Dorit's experience with PK when she called him a monster. And Dorit points out that it's not unusual that Kyle didn't see that side of him since she claims their relationship was only memes and jokes. I said, get her, Dorit. Get her. Get her. Kyle's like, oh, well, I just feel bad because he can't defend himself. I'm like, Kyle, shut up. Okay? Shut up. And I just want to know, why are you even piping up? Because Dorit's better than me. I'm not about to go back and forth with another woman about my husband. What are we arguing about? He's my husband. So what I say happened in our household, that's what happened. Who are you to up here? Oh, well, no, because I think, and you know, I didn't see that behavior and I didn't. I'm sorry, what? Dorit's better than me. I would have been like, Kyle, if you don't get out my entire face, I'm not about to argue with you about my own husband. If you care that much, then you can have him after you finalize your divorce with Mauricio. But until then, shut up. And so, like, during that part of them going back and forth, Kyle was upset that Dorit had called him an alcoholic. And then because PK had talked about his drinking, but he never apparently said he was an alcoholic. So that's something that Dorit was kind of driving. And again, it's none of your business. Like, did she go about it the right way? Probably not. I probably wouldn't do that. But it's also none of your business. So shut up. Kyle claims that she thought Dorit was exaggerating some things with PK because Dorit was exaggerating some things with Kyle. And they argue about, you know, Kyle reaching out after the separation announcement. Kyle initially reached out to just PK and then reached out to Dorit like a day or two afterwards when Erica confirmed that no one else had reached out to Dorit. And so Dorit is just mad that like you have the relationship with me, your loyalty should be with me, and you reached out to PK first. That doesn't make sense. And so that's what Dorit was mad about. Kyle is mad that Dorit never acknowledged that Kyle reached out to her. And so basically, in trying to make her point, Kyle asked Garcelle and Sutton if they reached out. And that's the part when I would have had, if I was Garcelle, I would have been like, Kyle, don't talk to me. I would have paid her just the entire reunion. Nope. So anyway, so they actually answered. They were like, no, we didn't reach out. We had our reasons. And then Kyle's like, exactly, but I reached out. And she wants a cookie for reaching out to a friend of, 6-7 years about their divorce. Cool. So then Dorit says she doesn't talk to PK about his sobriety anymore. So she can't share any updates about that. Sutton asked her, Sutton is asked about her concern over Dorit's finances, and basically, Sutton found out all these things about owning baseball teams and properties and things like that when she was divorcing her husband. And, Dorit, as she's kind of going towards divorce, needs to really get smart on the finances and know how much things are and where things are. And Dorit doesn't want to hear it. She's like, Sutton, I'm not taking advice from you. You don't even like me. You don't care about me. This isn't coming from a genuine place. It's none of your business. So Dorit wasn't having it. So then Andy asks, is the home in foreclosure? Dorit says no, it was in pre-foreclosure because apparently the mortgage rate changed without telling them. And then PK asked for an explanation. They never got in touch with him. And so until he got an explanation or got it straightened out, he just stopped paying. And that's where it started moving into pre-foreclosure. That doesn't make sense. Anytime there's something with your mortgage, like if it moves to a new lender or if the rate changes or whatever, they alert you. They send you a letter. They send you an email. So everything dealing with the Kemsleys is cloaked in lies, and I don't have any time for it. But as usual, Andy just moved right along and didn't press any further. So here we are. Basically, Dorit and PK don't have much of a relationship now. He allegedly sees the kids once a week when he's in town. Then we move on to Bo's package. Bo's did admit to watching this show and doing her research before joining the cast. And everyone was like, you watched the show and you still chose to be with Dorit? That's a choice. She said, she's surprised to see how genuine the feelings are, but everything that happens between the ladies is real. Andy brings up her beach house being destroyed in the LA fires. And Bose is just figuring out like how she's going to rebuild. She said losing the home is beyond devastating because it took so long to get to that point. And people pointed out like, what it's like to be self-made and work hard to own a nice property, and you let Erica sit up there, Miss Renter, mind you, go up there and shade Garcelle's beach house, knowing what that feels like. And so it's stuff like that's making me look at Bose so much differently. And I hate to say that because I've been cheerleading for her all season. But anyway, so then they talk about Keely, and Bo said that the responses about Keely has been a mixed bag. Basically, there's some support, but then a lot of people are saying he's a red flag and to run. Some of the girls, agreed that it was weird that they were talking about having kids before even saying, I love you. Bose is in the process of retrieving her eggs, and, she doesn't like that people have an opinion on her moving forward with having a kid, because it took her 16 years just to admit that she even wanted a second kid, just from the things that she's gone through. And so she's being really vulnerable, and people are kind of like maybe dismissing or shooting down her dreams. And no one's really doing that from a bad place. People are just saying like, you're already blessed with a beautiful daughter and you have a great life, it seems. And so we just want you to keep that quality of life versus, all of these risks that are stacked up against you. So Bose did talk about meeting with Garcelle before filming, and Garcelle didn't give her any insights into the ladies. She wanted Bose to make genuine relationships and make her own call on who she likes and who she doesn't like. And she attributes that to why she was open to meeting Dorit and getting to know her. But my thing is like, you watched the show, and I don't know. It's interesting to me because as I was watching this season, in my head, I was like, dang, I wish Bose and Garcelle like met ahead of time and like established a relationship ahead of time. And she said that they did. And hey, not everyone gets along. Not everyone hits it off. So like maybe they met and they were cool and just didn't like hit it off, or, who knows what went down. But I'm just like, why weren't they closer? I just thought it was interesting because, like I said, I would have loved to see more scenes with them. And maybe there were lots of scenes that were cut out, but I would have loved to see them interact more, rather than seeing 90% of Bose's scenes sit down with Dorit to hear her talk about PK. So Andy mentions that Bose thought that Sutton and Garcelle were jealous on the after show, and Garcelle denies it. Garcelle mentions that, in the past, plenty of people have had problems with Garcelle's friendship with Sutton. So then Garcelle mentions that, years leading up to now, people have always questioned her relationship with Sutton and, why are they friends? What do they have in common? Why are they so close? And, they asked her, well, if that's what you experienced, why would you do the same thing to Bose and Dorit? And Garcelle says, I didn't do it to that extent. Bose begs to differ. I really don't remember Garcelle having a problem with the Dorit and Bose friendship. I remember her just saying, hey, we want to be included in this conversation. And I remember her, and then they show the clip of her calling Dorit an embryo. Bose's coochie. So, and then Bose said that she's annoyed that people thought that she could be manipulated. And she said that you must not think highly of yourself if you think someone can sway my opinion of you. And I'm not sure who she was talking to. Was she talking to Garcelle? Was she talking to Sutton? Both of them, all three of them on that couch? I'm not sure. But I was like, Bose, you think a little too highly of yourself that anyone like really cares that deeply about like your opinion. I don't think that's the case. But maybe I'm wrong. Let me know. So they talk about Kyle not being welcoming to Bose, and Kyle has said in the press that she visited Bose's room when they were on the first cash trip. Bose does not remember this happening. And as Kyle was about to tell the story, she was like, oh, Bose, do you really want to do this? Do you really want to do this? And I was like, girl, just say what you have to say. And what she said wasn't even that good. I mean, unless editing took it out, but she basically was like, yeah, when we were on the trip, Sally Ann, the producer, I asked her where your room was. She took me to your room and we talked. So Bose does not remember that happening. And then Kyle had like a whole monologue of like, I genuinely like you. I'm a good, judge of character, blah, blah, blah. Basically kind of like kissing the ring to Bose. And, Kyle was like, I don't know why you would feel the way you feel because, it takes me a long time to warm up, but I had a deeper than usual conversation when I came to visit you after your surgery. And Bose was like, no, we talked about Dorit most of the time. Like, what are you talking about? We never got to know each other. And Kyle was like, well, she tries to undermine Bose and was saying, well, you probably didn't remember because you were medicated from your surgery. And Bose was like, no, our conversations just weren't that memorable. Bloop. Gagged Kyle, and Kyle just laughed and looked dumb. But honestly, this is how Garcelle needs to pack Kyle up, because as soon as you stand up to a bully, they shut on down. But Garcelle and Sutton, they are so bad at sticking up for themselves and defending themselves and like being quick and on the spot. They're terrible at it, especially Garcelle. Maybe Garcelle needs to go back to improv. I don't know if she's ever done it before, but like, I'm surprised an actress isn't quicker on her feet. And as you boss up, they cower down. This lady told Kyle to her face, my conversations with you are not even memorable, so get out my face. And Kyle said, you're right. So then they talk about Garcelle, and Andy points out the Entertainment Tonight interview where Erica once wanted Sutton and Garcelle to show more of their lives. And Erica was like, yeah, I just want the juicy scoop. Like, who are you dating? Who are you dating, Erica? Why didn't Garcelle say this to her? This has to be a joke. Erica, who are you dating? Erica, what is going on with your son? How was the A$AP Rocky trial? Tell me more. Like, there are so many things that we want to know about you, and we can't say anything. Like, this has to be a joke. And like, instead of saying that and putting it back on Erica, because Garcelle can say everything that Erica is saying to Garcelle, Garcelle can say to Erica. And instead of doing that and like being quick on her feet and putting Erica in her place, she's up here answering her like, well, no, that's it. Like, nope, I can't offer anything else. Nope, that's it. Nope, I can't. Nope, that's all I have. And, then she asked Erica, she was like, well, do you know something? And Erica says, no, I just wish you were more interesting. And the only thing that Sutton says was, what? And Garcelle is better than me. Because the way I would have had Erica Jane running off that stage in tears. How dare you? You were up here wallpapering a casita all season long, and you want to tell me I'm uninteresting? We don't know your son. We had never seen any of your friends. You probably don't have any. You have the people that you pay, but I've never seen any genuine friends outside of this group talk to you, visit you. Only person that's ever visited you is your mother, who you threw under the bus in your earlier seasons. What have you done, Erica? The only things that you have copped to are the things that you had to talk about because they hit the press. But if we didn't know any of that Tom stuff, you wouldn't have brought it up. You would not have brought it up. And you wouldn't have divorced him. You would have just been acting like everything's fine. You're interesting because you have a career that was bought with blood money? I mean, I guess it's kind of interesting, but like, it's nothing to brag about. Yeah, Garcelle's current life is not in shambles. She's not really dating anyone. Her kids don't want to be on the show. So her hands are kind of tied. Unless Bravo, like I said earlier in the season, I said, I'm interested in seeing what it's like behind the scenes on set and from a producer's perspective and meeting with cast writers and actors and things like that. And there's probably that's a show in itself, I'm sure, because I'm sure lots of things happen that don't go as planned, or maybe there's drama on the set. But, I think there's only so much that they're going to allow the reality cameras capture. That's not Garcelle's fault. And I think Garcelle plays her role well in the fact of like, okay, she doesn't bring the most personal story, but she tries to move the story along. And she tries to go in and mix things up and ask the questions that everyone wants to know, which you said, Erica, you said Garcelle's good at that. What do you do? I'm waiting. What's your role? Making Sutton cry? What do you do? Because you're no longer the fancy girl with the jet. Like, at least you brought, you came in bringing fabulosity, and she's so rich, and she has a private plane, and she's, a Barbie, pop star. But like, you're not now. That mask has fallen off. Oh, shout out to the Masked Singer. But that mask has fallen off. So like, we know the origin of your career. You're not that rich anymore. You live in a rental and you want to shade a woman with her second home. So this part had me all the way messed up. Garcelle is a better woman than me. Garcelle is a better woman than me. So anyway, so instead of like defending herself or reading Erica back, she's just like, oh, that's a messed up thing to say. That's a messed up thing to say. And then, like I said, Erica starts to say, well, Kyle, Dorit, and I have shown our divorces. And Garcelle's like, what do you want me to do? My divorce happened years before the show. And then here comes Kyle claiming that she showed so much. And she's like, I showed so much. I showed my relationships with my sisters, and I showed this and I showed that. And I'm like, I beg to differ, honestly. Maybe it's a hot take. I don't know. I feel like Kyle has thrown her sisters under the bus so much that they don't really fool with her like that. And then now it's like Mauricio's turn. Like, I feel like she doesn't talk about her life. It's more so my issues with Kim, my issues with Kathy. And like I said, they don't fool with her on that level anymore. And now it's, oh, my issues with Mauricio. And it's never like, I don't know. Yes, it's technically her life, but it's like her life at a distance because we're talking about someone else and it's her just being able to play victim. So then Garcelle brings up that it's weird that we see Kyle and Morgan in the press, but we're not allowed to talk about it on the show. And Kyle says, yeah, she signed on as a favor to me. I was like, what was the favor? What was the favor? I wish someone dug into that. What was the favor? To make Mauricio jealous? Then you found out he didn't care and then you told Morgan to pack it up? What was the favor? But anyway, she was like, yeah, the show created a lot of anxiety for Morgan and she didn't want to do it again. And I was just like, I thought this was Garcelle's package. Why are we talking about you and Morgan? Can you go away? So then Kyle brings up Garcelle's son not wanting to be on the show, and somehow she thinks that a minor being racially attacked by bots, yelled at and cursed at by a drunk adult, laughed at by other adults at him getting cursed at, somehow she thinks that's comparable to her lesbian lover who got a little anxiety and decided to get off the reality show. Okay, Kyle. Then here goes victim Kyle again. I was so hurt by you this season. And Garcelle's like, well, you hurt me too. And you could tell like Kyle had her little lines in her head because she started talking and then she was like, wait, what? I hurt you? Garcelle's like, yeah, you called me an a-hole in the after show. After we sat and laughed about the comment that I made at Chuck E. Cheese, you then went on the after show and called me an a-hole. And Garcelle says, the cast would look like hypocrites if we don't address what's happening in real life, aka what the media is talking about and reporting on. And then they talk about an off-camera conversation between Kyle and Garcelle. And Kyle claims that she explained everything. I said, oh, girl, what'd she say? I was like, Garcelle, now that y'all ain't friends, tell us what she said. And so Kyle claims that she explained everything in this off-camera conversation. Garcelle said, I still haven't mentioned it to anyone. I will keep that. Yeah, I will keep your confidence. But I want to know why you came to me off camera. And then here goes Kyle about to stutter. I thought you were my friend. I'm like, no, you didn't. Sutton actually clocked what you were doing, but she was too afraid to tell you in the reunion. So then Garcelle asked Sutton, well, what did you say after that conversation, Sutton? And then here goes Sutton lying, but Garcelle quickly corrects her and was like, you told me that was a chess move by Kyle. And that's exactly what it was. And Dorit even agreed. There was a very, very quick moment where they panned to Dorit and she was like, yep. Because Dorit knows how Kyle operates. And we've watched her for so long that we all know how Kyle operates. And it's the same manipulation that she does to Sutton off camera, which is why Sutton gets her face played every time on camera, because off camera, she's telling Sutton, we're friends. I love you. We're great friends. I love you. And then on camera, she gets her face cracked every time because Kyle throws her under the bus or dismisses her in front of all her friends. And so I think it was 100% a chess move coming to you, just like she did in the very first episode. Oh, Garcelle, I feel safe with you. And I just want to tell you that nothing's happening with Morgan, but we can't say her name. Girl, what? She knew to go to Garcelle because Garcelle would be the one to talk about it. So she said, let me go, make her feel close to me, make her feel like we're good friends. I'm going to come to her as a good friend, ask her to keep this hush, and hopefully she doesn't bring it up in this season. But she brought it up in this season. She didn't say anything that you specifically told her in that off-camera conversation, but she just addressed it very objectively of like, hey, we're seeing this in the media. Can you talk about it? And that is what you did not bank on. You banked on her falling in line like Sutton to not push too much on your personal life. And you banked wrong, my friend. So after Garcelle says that Sutton said that it was a chess move, Kyle calls them mean girls. I said, pop, meat, kettle. Girl, roll the clip on Kyle being a mean girl. Roll the clip on how she treated Brandi Glanville, what she did to Denise, what she did to Lisa, how she treated Sutton. There's probably 10 other people getting into it with Carlton. Kyle, you're the mean girl. You're attention starved. You have a power imbalance. If you weren't close with the executives, these girls wouldn't be following you so much. So then they talk about how Garcelle, so then Kyle brings up how Garcelle was mad at Sutton for not supporting her in confronting Kyle about the Morgan issue in St. Lucia. And here goes Sutton leaving her friend out to dry. Oh, I've always respected Kyle's privacy with Morgan. And Garcelle's like, no, you didn't. Sutton, come on, you got to be at least believable. If you had a change of heart, fine. But don't sit up here and say, oh, I've always supported. No, you didn't. And when Kyle was asking Garcelle, like, why did you need Sutton to jump in, blah, 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 she was like, no, that's between me and Sutton. I was mad that she didn't come to me she didn't support me as a friend. And that's between us, had nothing to do with you. It's just our dynamic. And then here goes Erica jumping in, asking Garcelle, well, do you and Sutton always have to agree? And I would have ignored her. I would have been like, I'm sorry, I'm not interesting enough to respond. Get the fuck on my face. That's what I would have told Erica. But then, of course, Garcelle answers her and was like, no, she's just my friend, and that's what friends do. I'm like, girl, all right. So then Kyle has a tantrum, and she's like, I mean, everyone was just coming at me in St. Lucia. It felt like everyone was ganging up on me. I'm like, and the victim award goes to Kyle. So Garcelle apologizes, probably just to shut her up. And I'm just like, stop giving these people what they want. You want to come on stage ignoring me, and then I have to end up giving you an apology? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Garcelle's she's better than me. So then we get into Garcelle versus Dorit. And Dorit, okay. So Andy asked Dorit, how'd you feel about Garcelle alluding that the break-in was orchestrated? I was like, I didn't even remember that happening. That happened really early in the season. And I'm like, y'all must not have much for this reunion, because that wasn't a sticking point of this season at all. And so I was like, dang, y'all must not have much to talk about. I forgot that even happened. And Dorit was like, I'm just wondering why you're so obsessed with the most, traumatic thing that's ever happened to me, blah, blah, blah. Garcelle said, I'm not obsessed. It just happened. I only talked about it a couple of times. I'm not talking about it again. And Garcelle said it was just her instinct that something else was at play. It wasn't that Dorit orchestrated it. She didn't even specifically say PK. She just said someone. And Dorit is like, well, you're basing your assumption on nothing. And I can't believe you can just toss it out so casually, because that's going to hurt my kids and my family. And I'm like, well, you casually laughed at Garcelle's child getting cussed at, but you didn't care about how that hurt Garcelle's family, did you? These girls are the biggest hypocrites I've ever seen in my life, and I'm just so confused why Garcelle lets them get away with the things they do, because I would be stepping on all their necks all season, all reunion long. Come at me all you want. I got something for you every time. And when all else fails, you curse out my child, you laughed. That's the end of the story. So then Dorit and Garcelle go back and forth whether or not Garcelle intimated that PK was the one who set it up. Garcelle stands firm that, no, I never said that. And Dorit's like, well, it seems like you did, blah, blah, blah. Garcelle asked, like, was I the only one that felt this way? And I guess she assumed some people on the cast would help, but Garcelle, most of that cast is in an alliance against you. So I don't know why she did that. But Dorit was like, well, who else felt that way? You're 4 people on Twitter. And Garcelle was just like, okay. Like, she just ate it. I would have been like, who are you talking to, Dorit? I would have, maybe this is why I'm not on that show. But my Lord, she just sat there and ate it and let Dorit pack her right on up. So at this point, I'm wondering if Sutton even has a pulse, because I heard her say, what? When Erica called Garcelle uninteresting. But Kyle, Dorit, and Erica have just like piled on her bestie, and she has said nothing. Sutton, you're pathetic. I'm over you. I was kind of like, I was kind of off of you in the last couple episodes. I'm completely done with you. I'm completely over you. You can leave. I don't care. I am so over you, Sutton. You're pathetic. All the times Garcelle has helped you out. And I heard that when Garcelle walks off, you don't, go to support her or follow her or anything. But last season, when you went to the hospital, Garcelle left the reunion and went with you to the hospital. I can't stand non-reciprocal relationships and friendships. And I hope Garcelle never talks to you again because you're pathetic. So enjoy running up behind Kyle and Erica and Dorit. They will never like you. You will never be on the same plane with them. Continue on following them like a little puppy. And you lost the real one. You lost the real one, Sutton. Bose jumps in on the pile and tells Garcelle, how reckless it is to make that accusation without any proof. And I'm like, she didn't make an accusation. She just said, I think someone did something. That's all she said. Yeah, it would be reckless if she was like, yeah, PK did it to pay off his gambling debt, which everyone said he did. She didn't say that. So Bose, hush. No one needed your 2 cents there. There were enough people coming at her. So then the ladies go on a lunch break. And first of all, I'm like, no one's eating. Maybe this was like taped before they ate, but I was like, I would be stuffing my face. So as they're leaving the stage, Sutton tells Kyle that she's going to cry because everyone hates her. Girl, what? You watch them all gang up on Garcelle and you're the one who's hurt. I can't with the fragility. I can't. Reason number 75 why you're pathetic. She's up here. I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. Everyone hates me. And Kyle was like, yeah, girl, you'll be okay. Kyle did not care. Kyle does not care about your feelings. She was like, oh, yeah, it happens. And walks off. So then, so Garcelle's walking off and she's telling her team, she was like, oh, I thought Sutton would be in the hot seat. I didn't know it would be for me. And I'm like, girl, you got to come prepared. You've been on this show for 5 years? You got to be prepared for anything. And because I would listen, if I was on the show, I would be like, okay, so if Erica comes at me, I'm going to say this about her. If Kyle comes at me, I'm going to say this. You got to have something in your back pocket for all these people, even Sutton, in case you want to get froggy and want to say something. Oh, well, you said that, pull it out. You need to have that stuff ready. What do you mean I didn't expect it? You should know that you should know to expect anything on these reunions. So she was just like, everyone can F themselves. I can't have an opinion and I need to go along and get along. But I can never say how I feel or what I think. And I'm like, true, because you're not in the alliance with them. And that's some of your doing. Like, let's keep it all the way real. Some of that is your doing, Garcelle. You came in like, Kyle glazes over me, Kyle this, Kyle. You came in going after Kyle. It was weird. You asked Rinna about, does like her actions like make her daughter have an eating disorder? You, what else did you do? You were asking Sutton off like the first day you met her where she got her money. Like, you came in kind of like trying to poke and stir the pot, and people were kind of like I will say Lisa Rinna was right a few years ago when she was like, you jab. And that's fine if you want to jab and you want to be the villain and you want to be shady and he and ha. But don't be mad when people respond to that. And that's what you tend to do, Garcelle, is you want to like do all these little jabs. And then when they have their little like click and they don't want you in it, then you're like, well, no one likes me. Like, why are they treating me this way? I'm not being welcomed. And it's like, you came in acting like that. So what do you expect? And so anyway, some of that is your own doing, and some of that is the fact that they're just mean girls and they're miserable and they're terrible people. So Sutton comes to link up with Garcelle, and she tells Garcelle that she feels like she was thrown under the bus with that chess move comment. Garcelle apologizes, and Sutton says, oh, well, it's about to get bad for me. And I'm like, shut up, Sutton. It was always going to be bad for you. Have you not watched the season? So then Garcelle says she's not taking on the mean girl title. And then she goes on her rant about Erica, F her, You know, what am I supposed to do? Have criminal activity? F her. I don't care about Erica. I don't know. Who cares? You should have said it to her face. You should have went harder, in my opinion. Like you're a day late and a dollar short. You want to like huff and puff in your dressing room when you had ample time and space and opportunity to say what you had to say to her face. I don't care. So, in the words of Nene. But yeah, final thoughts on this reunion. It was clearly very Garcelle heavy. I think some of the things what the women said were halfway valid, but I think Garcelle has way more material to work with, and she should have just put them all in her place one by one. Sutton, like I said, you're pathetic. You should have stood up for your friend more. I hope as the next couple of parts of the reunion, I'm sure the attention's gonna turn to Sutton, and I hope Garcelle says nothing. Garcelle, don't you dare say anything when they start coming at Sutton. We'll see. Jury's still out on whether I'm going to watch next season. I'm going to try to make it through the next few episodes, and we will make a determining factor after we learn what more cast changes are coming and all of that. But so yeah, I'm just going to leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave me a comment. Let me know how you felt about this episode. Do you think Garcelle should have done more? Do you think Sutton should have done more? Are you feeling me when I make my assessment on these two? Let me know your thoughts below. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content and you want more of it. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.